Hey, Facebook. Good early evening. Happy Monday. Happy belated Thanksgiving to all of my American friends. I'm an honorary American now because my daughter is a third American and a third Texan. So I was in Texas for Thanksgiving, watching high school football and eating too much food. It was amazing. There's so much going on this week that it literally demanded a video Q&A. First, I'm on 2 episodes of television this week. That's always exciting. Our huge 2-night crossover event is taking place Tuesday at 8 p.m. and Wednesday at 8 p.m. with Flash and Arrow, respectively. We had a blast shooting these. We're going to cover some of that in the Q&A. Sometime tomorrow or possibly the next day, because the site was actually down for a little bit today because you're all so awesome. The campaign for cancer, I'm going to swear, the campaign for fuck cancer, the family-friendly version, the tote bags, the hoodies, the colors, the third and final iteration of this campaign. This really, really will be it. We've raised over $1.2 million. It's just mind-boggling to me. And, side note, PayPal now exists. It's a thing, apparently. Didn't used to, now it does. So if you needed to use PayPal before and it was the only way that you wanted to contribute to the campaign, you can do so now, which is great. Now on to some questions from actual Facebook friends with respect to both the campaign and the Flash Arrow crossover event. Internet's calling it Flaro. I'm not in. Dustin Fathery would like to know, how does it feel to see a bunch of people, sorry, I'm going to make the font a little bigger. How does it feel to see a bunch of people wearing your face on their shirt? Do you wish it was a different picture of you? On a side note, love the show and keep on rocking. No, I think it's really cool. When I was in Toronto, my mom had one on. Whatever, my mom gets to wear a shirt with my face on it. And I've seen a couple of people when I was down in Syracuse, met a couple of really nice people that were wearing the shirt. It doesn't feel weird because the cause is good. Like on one of the campaigns, it was like a guy that wrote GOAT under his name. Probably meant greatest of all time or GOAT, I'm not sure. And I don't even know if it was for charity. That's weird, but to each their own. I don't begrudge anyone anything. So no, it's not weird. It's exciting. Mel C. Cullen wants to know if we can add subtitles to these Q&A videos. I don't know how to do it on Facebook. If somebody would like to teach me, or if someone would like to do it, I'd be happy to link to it. Okay? Constance Gibbs wants to know, what in the world do Oliver and Diggle do for money these days? Is Dig living off Lila's Argus income? I'm glad you brought this up. I mentioned it on the Arrow After Show a couple of weeks ago. As we've seen with recent developments financially in America, when billionaires go broke, that means that they have like $4 million left. So Oliver certainly isn't a billionaire anymore, but I wouldn't say that he's leafing through sofa cushions to find spare change. I feel like he has a little something, and this is actually something that we get to address in the latter part of the year. Natalie Duran wants to know if any of my co-stars have bought any of the Fuck Cancer t-shirts or hoodies. I'm not sure. I know that some people on the crew have, and that was really nice and thoughtful. I know that they've tweeted their support, and quite honestly, that's good enough for me. Amira Ahmed wants to know, are you considering doing a Q&A with your co-stars? That would be fun to watch. I'm always considering it. It's just a matter of finding the time. Natalie Duran, who got 2 questions in the top. Well, good for her. Is there one specific scene in the crossover episode that you found difficult to film? Not emotionally difficult. The big battle scene that you see in the Flash side of the crossover was technically difficult because we wanted it to be awesome. But no, not... no. There's not one that stands out. Rosemary Huber wants to know, how do you prepare for those emotional scenes? Your expression and eyes, so much pain and sadness. Well, thank you. I don't know. I think it has to do with being involved in the show and emotionally invested in the show. Because I'm not necessarily a method guy. If you're involved in the show, emotionally invested in the show, and you care about it being a good product, then I feel like raising the stakes in those moments becomes a little bit easier. How would you describe a good day on set and a bad one? That's Roberto Gonzalez. I would describe a good one as when we get a lot of work done, and I would describe a bad one as one that's just a really technical start and stop day where you don't get to do a ton of acting. I don't find those as emotionally and creatively satisfying as when we get to shoot really cool scenes that have a lot of range to them. Bader Al Mula says, Captain, thank you. What's the protocol for running into you in public? Do you like to be approached for pictures and stuff? Would you rather we back off and mind our own business if you're with family? Do we have to have the shirt on if we want to come say hi? Whatever it is, it would be cool to know so that we can respect your privacy. That's a very thoughtful question. I think in general, if I've tweeted that I'm somewhere or put a Facebook post up, like I was at a high school football game Saturday in Texas at Rice Stadium, and I tweeted that I was there, and some people came up, met some nice members of the band, met a couple of girls who were waiting when I went to get a refreshment, met someone who actually drove to the stadium. That was fun. If I tweet that I'm somewhere, I feel like it's pretty much fair game. If I'm with my family, my daughter specifically, I don't know, you got to use your best judgment. But I would ask that if that happens and I'm maybe not as approachable as I would be otherwise, that you would respect that. I think most people do. I think that the tone and tenor of that question is a good indication that that assumption is correct. It's a play it by ear type of situation. But if I'm out in public, it's not like I shouldn't expect to be a public figure. Celebs that do that are assholes. Tracy Ladd, if you were walking down the street and came across someone wearing one of the shirts, would you stop them and ask to take a picture with them? That depends. I always like to, like at Comic-Con in 2012 when we were on the big bags that they give out and no one knew who we were, I liked walking up to people and saying nice bag because no one would know and people would think that I'm a weirdo. Yeah, if I saw you out on the street and you were wearing a shirt and I wasn't, in a rush somewhere, I'd love to say hi. Nancy Collar wants to know, what was the hardest part of switching to a very heavy visual effects show from the standard process of Arrow? There wasn't really a hardest part. There was just the guy who directed the Flash side of the crossover, Glenn Winter, we've had him for so long on Arrow, and he's directed some of our best episodes. I trust him implicitly, so that made it easy because there were some things that I had to do, fighting by myself, doing things in slow motion that I had never had to do before on the show, or on our show. So trusting the director was important, and I did. So nothing was really overly hard. Roberto Gonzalez says, yesterday I ran a half marathon. Name 5 songs you listen to when you're on the treadmill. Go. Radioactive by Imagine Dragons, the Kendrick Lamar remix. That's one of the great, great songs ever. Swedish House Mafia, Eminem, John Mayer, Don't Judge Me. That new song, Take Me to Church, by Hosier? I don't know. I'm actually trying to get back into music a little bit. I'd fallen off. I used to be really into finding the new stuff, and trying to get back into it. That was 5, I think. Heather Hooten wants to know, that's a good name, how much of what is going to happen in the season do you know before the season airs? Is it fairly detailed, or just in general? Or just in general, this is what the game plan is. Also, do you know the journey for all the characters, or do you only get to know your own? I have a nice back and forth with the producers in this respect. As we've gone through the season 1 to 2 to 3, the general outline for the season as well as the specific outline of the season have been much more in focus every year. had a meeting recently, and generally it breaks down into, say, the first 9 episodes and then the latter 11 episodes. Is that right? I could just be wrong there. No, not latter 11. Last 14. Stupid. So I'll get the plan for the first half of the year, and then I'll go in and we'll chat about the latter half of the year. Sometimes it breaks down even a little bit more, where it's the first 9, or 1 to 9, 10 to 13, 14 to 23. But yeah, this year there was a really good overall plan, and I've actually heard rumblings about plans for season 4. We have to be picked up, obviously, but you plan. So there are some cool things coming down the pipeline. Noor Al Rafal wants to know, is Oliver a little bit jealous of Barry's superpower? I don't think so. Sophia Shahab Gwari, I'm so sorry about pronunciation of names. 2 lies, 1 truth about the crossover. I shouldn't have read that question, because now I have to answer it. 2 lies, 1 truth. Thea has as close to a Marilyn Monroe episode as, or incident episode. Thea has as close to a Marilyn Monroe incident as you can have on network television. Barry throws me off of a roof. I encounter Ray Palmer for the first time since the first episode of the season, not counting when I saw Ray and Felicity getting up to stuff in last week's episode. Spoiler alert. Okay. How was it watching with the fans at the screening? What were the parts you were most excited about them seeing, and did the reaction live up to your expectations? So we did a screening in Los Angeles, not this past weekend, but the weekend before, of both of these episodes. I was most excited for them to see how they react to the humorous moments, because I think that Oliver and just the story in general, the Arrow story, our side of it, because of what we're infusing in the show, the people from The Flash, it's actually one of the funnier episodes that we've ever done, which is not a typical way to describe our show. It's funny, it's interesting, it's a change of pace. So I wanted to make sure that the laughs landed. And then just in general, I just wanted to watch it with an audience, and their reaction and that whole event in general was absolutely over and above what I hoped for, and I hope that we get to do more events like that in the future. Natalie Doran, just dominating. Is your favorite moment... She's Canadian, based on the spelling of favorite. Is your favorite moment from the Flaro episodes in the Flash part or the Arrow part? The Flash side. Tassia Bastos. Any chance to see Oliver Queen wearing one of those fuck cancer t-shirts for training? Probably not. That'd probably be a little far along the fourth wall. Douglas Boltinghouse, knowing your mom was a big inspiration for the campaign, what has she thought about the enormously positive response to your mission? I will be proudly wearing the 2 shirts I've got. Well, thank you, Douglas. My mom's always proud. I could be a garbage man, not that there's anything wrong with that, and she would, tweet and Facebook all the time about what an efficient garbage man I was. Again, nothing wrong with being a garbage man. Yeah, she's very proud, very happy. I think this has helped with her Christmas shopping too, so there's that. Joyce Ganasali, question, is Oliver working? Where do you think he should work? What is he doing during the day? I can't possibly answer that question. Samantha Endres wants to know, what other show would you like to do a crossover with if it was possible? Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Just because. Because why not? Samantha Jane Taylor. 3 words to describe your thoughts when you initially read the crossover scripts. But how? Sally KG, what can you tease about the Arrow's suit upgrade? We were told by Mark Guggenheim that it will happen at the end of 308. Nothing. Watch the episode. It airs Wednesday at 8, 7 Central. Hi, Steve. Joanna Harlan. Hi, Steven. This might seem like a silly question, but was it hard having to deal with 2 scripts or 1 large script for this week's crossover event? When we were shooting 108 of The Flash, we were shooting 307 of Arrow, and towards the latter part of 108 of The Flash, coming, Sarah, we moved on to episode 308. It was difficult. The 3 directors that we had, Rob Hardy on 307 of Arrow, Glenn Winter on 108 of Flash, and Jesse Warren on 308 of Arrow, did a really excellent job of making sure that everybody knew where we were in the story, in all the different stories. So we just took a little bit of extra time, because you don't shoot the episodes sequentially. So we just took a little bit of extra time and made sure that everybody understood what had happened, where we were going, where we had come from, all those good things. 2 more questions. Paula Camarota, any good scenes between Oliver and Felicity in the crossovers that we can look forward to? Of course. Jandra Burr, are we going to hear from you and Fuck Cancer some of the great stories that have transpired because of your record-breaking campaign? I hope so. I think that we will. You know, let's give the campaign a little time to breathe, and then some of those stories will come out. This is a good place to end. All the people that have shared photos, all the people that have participated in one campaign or all 3 campaigns. I mean, you can view it as one giant campaign, but you know what I mean. From the very bottom of my heart, on behalf of Julie and Heather and all of the wonderful people at Fuck Cancer, this is over and above what we could have hoped for, even if you times what we were hoping for by 100. It has just been a startling experience. Grateful, so grateful to everyone. And that's it. Campaign ends sometime tomorrow, or possibly a little bit on down the line, because the site was down for a little bit today. I love you guys. Enjoy the Flash and Arrow crossover episodes this week. We worked really hard to bring you 2 great hours of television. And I truly think that the next 2-week stretch on Arrow, for the crossovers and then our fall finale, are just, I think our fall finale is the best episode that we've ever done. So thank you, and I'll talk to you again soon. Bye, Facebook.